Good afternoon, everybody. Live from Amsterdam. Welcome to the third day of Dept Talks Live on Customer 360. Very excited to be here. I will be your host for this session, Kasia Meerman. I'm digital strategist at Dept. And well, if you don't know Dept, what we are, what we do, well, we help world-leading brands accelerate and build their digital services and products and campaigns. We do this for a lot of companies. We're very passionate about what we do. And we're about 2,000 thinkers and doers helping brands worldwide in Europe, focusing in Americas. And this topic is really, really very close to my heart. I really enjoy working with customers and understanding brands and how they affect their customers. And today with me, I have a very, very special guest that I've been working with for quite a while, and she's going to help us explore this topic a little bit more. So Paola, welcome. Maybe a quick introduction.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Katja. I'm very excited to be here with you today. So I'm Paola. I work at Beiersdorf. I have been with Beiersdorf for a little bit more than 5 years. I started in Beiersdorf, Switzerland, where I was leading the digital team, where we tried already to move as close as possible to the consumer digitally. And from there on, I moved to my new role within the European team, where I'm the consumer connectivity manager. So as the title already tells you, my main work is to really connect the consumer across the consumer journey, to dive deep into a seamless consumer journey, and to really foster the one-on-one meaningful conversations with our consumers on a daily basis, more or less.
Okay, quite an ambitious goal. Because for Nivea, I mean, one of the oldest brands out there in FMCG world anyway, 100 years for those of you that don't know. It's a brand very well established. So how do you reinvent yourself digitally when all your sales channels, everything was always brick and mortar? So how does that digital experience, how do you bring that to the customer?
I think what we can be very lucky about is our roots. We come from this very strong skincare expertise, so we don't need to explain the consumers that what we do is right or wrong, because we are a trustworthy brand and we are very established within these values. So to take it up from there, we just need to really dive into the digital world and see how can we use this trust that we have, and also the insights that we have, the knowledge about the consumer, and what is now relevant to them on a daily basis. What channels are relevant to them? Where do they inform themselves about beauty trends, about ingredients, about skincare? And all of this combined together is really how we try to stay focused on the digital reinvention. And from there we take it, from like the classical communication ways like ATL to more personalized, more understanding of the consumer. For instance, we have one great digital product. It's our Nivea Skin Guide, which is a skincare diary that you can start, and you take your pictures every day so you can see how your skin improves over time, and also you get the right recommendations for your skin. And then we get a lot of very important insights from tools like this, and this is where we take off the rest of the communication.
Okay, really great. And can you maybe take the audience through some of the challenges? I mean, lots of data, lots of opportunities. So what do you deal with on a daily basis when you have to do this, when you have to set this up?
Well, I mean, we are actually serving every channel out there, more or less. There's not one channel that you cannot find Nivea on. So it really is the biggest challenges, I think, from the beginning where to start, because we have so much data, we can track everything. There's so many KPIs out there. And if you want to measure everything, I mean, this is also the great benefit from digital marketing, right? We can now track everything. Where do we start, really? And to really pin it down to a starting point where you grow from, and you see, okay, so let's start maybe with the most important focus, like a strategic focus, for instance. Is it skincare for us in our case? So we start maybe with a skin type and take it up from there to gather the data around this focus field. And from there it just starts growing, and the puzzle is being put together regarding the data that we need to communicate on this more personal level.
Okay. And so I hear you say, and I think this is really relevant for all of us, so now you have all this data, you can create a little bit of focus, but I mean the seamless experience across the channel, I mean, how do you orchestrate that? What are some of the tips you can give our audiences? Start small, obviously, start with some focus, very good. What else could we do to help speed up if you want to create that experience?
Well, for us, I think the most important thing was to start with the right tech stack. At some point, to connect all the different maybe data sources that you have, and also different services, not devices, but service, called, and really get the infrastructure ready to take it up from there. Once you kind of have this in place, you then start thinking, okay, what else do we need to connect? What do we need in terms of maybe data insights? What do we need in business intelligence? What do we need in terms of creating this meaningful one-on-one conversations with our consumers, and really focusing on that? It helps to, create the concept around this. And for us, I think the major changing point was really to invest in all these technical infrastructure, and also combine not only using the data for our insights and all of this, but also to see what's in first-party data, like how can we leverage it for other purposes, like media purposes, how can we leverage it for insights, how can we leverage it for conversations, and to really always find the starting point where you see the most relevance in a strategic way.
Okay, great. But so when you're talking about, because I mean, I know I've worked with your tech stack before, the old one you're migrating right now, so things are really speeding up in the last year because of this technical integration, right? So you have your marketing automation, you're integrating that to the website, you're integrating that to your advertising channels, where all of a sudden, the digital touchpoint trail from a consumer, you can start following at least and following them in their interest. So it's very exciting, but I also know where you're coming from. I mean, the system that you had, why wasn't it working before? I mean, millions of options, tons of attributes that we could use. What were the showstoppers? Why is this tech stack different? What happened?
Well, I think it's the connection of all the dots coming into one picture. Before, we had different systems, we had different silos, and they were separated from each other. So I think the most important thing was to really draw things together so you can draw the big picture together. So if you have the data, how can you leverage it for advertising? How can you leverage it for insights? How can you leverage it for surveys? And it's really hard if you're on different systems to combine them together and to make them speak the same language to each other and exchange data, etc. But to really straightening this out, moves you more or less to the next level. And from there, it just really takes off. It kind of gets like this own dynamic. I remember 1 year ago when we started working together, we were like, okay, let's launch a few journeys and let's see where it gets us. And then we looked what was the biggest pain point we had within our CRM program. And we saw, okay, we really need to keep the consumers engaged. So let's create an automated heartbeat journey. So the consumers really that are inactive, how can we reactivate them? How can we learn more? Why are they becoming inactive? What are triggers to reactivate them? And from there, we just took it off, and now we are looking and we're loving this automation process. We're working on this together, very passionate, and and I think this is exactly that, because if we had started at another point, it could have gone a similar way. But I think it's really the key message here is really start with one insight, with the biggest pain point, and it doesn't have to be a big one. Like for us, it was the engagement of the existing consumers in the database, and everything else just took off from there.
Okay, so a little bit of a twist on this, because there's a lot of skeptics, right? I mean, there's two camps of people saying, how can you actually create valuable engagement, valuable experiences, and a little bit that loyalty feeling if you don't own entire customer journey, right? Because you don't own all of the sales points. You have e-shops in some of the countries, so you can see, you know, what the impact is. So how do you see that? How do you see not owning? Is it still possible to really create those experiences and bind the customer, even though the actual purchase happens somewhere else? You don't ever know how effective you are. How do you look at that?
Well, for us, it is important to own more or less most of the consumer journey, of course, and we saw that breaking down also the silos to other departments like the brand management, the sales colleagues, this also really helps a lot because they also benefit from our work. Like whenever we do campaigns and we collect first party data, then it can be reused for their campaigns. And also, and then diving into technical offers like the advertising studio, you know, and connecting all of this together. So it's not only for us, and for us it's also important whenever we create a campaign to also include all touch points into this campaign. So it really is from the first phase, the awareness phase, into the loyalty phase, more or less to say, because we also want the consumer to love the project and to the product and to repurchase it at the end. So yeah, we do the most we can, and of course there's gaps that we cannot close at this stage, but we try to close everything that we can, and I think it's we're on a good way. We're in a good way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from where we started, when we started working with you 3 years ago, and we're looking at what we're doing for you and the type of activities and the level of the activities, and also the level of impact that we are creating, it's very interesting. Very nice to see that use case approach, starting small, building out. You know, it's like you just add and add and add and add, and value grows. Very interesting. And Paola, I think you mentioned, you moved up to the European level. That was not in place a few years ago, right? It was really, GBU, right? Global and local. Can you tell us a little bit about the impact of kind of this new European team and what you're trying to achieve in order to create this implementation and integration?
I think it's not really a restructure, right? It's just that we added another level to the existing levels. And for us, it was important because we saw a lot of great initiatives across Europe. Like we have a lot of super motivated markets, and we have really bright people in the market. So they're doing great concepts, and it was just then stuck in the market. So it was really a shame that we could not share more and benefit from one another. So also this European structure is a little bit to leverage exactly this. So we try to build synergies and also to tighten the loose ends all together, because we see everybody is challenging more or less the same issues and challenges. And therefore, just by putting all the great minds together and all our power together, it really drives the needle, so to say, because you're not alone anymore in your market facing all these issues you might have with digital marketing, with your online consumers, etc. And it really helped to bring, first of all, more to the market. So there's really a benefit because you can just adapt things quite quickly. You don't have to develop everything from scratch. And you have many more services than before that you can just plug and play, more so to say. So it really also, I think from my perspective, when I compare it to my time in Switzerland, it also brought up like a bigger community within the digital marketing teams across Europe, because everybody is very excited whenever we have new projects, new services that are being launched. And everything we do, we also do it in a collaborative way with the markets. So we really ask, what are your demands? What are your challenges right now? And then from this conversation, we come up together, what could be a solution? Let's try it. Like, we don't obviously have the answer straight away. We have to get there together. And sometimes on the way, we have to realize, okay, maybe, I don't know, this is not the correct concept for now, but then we are in this together, and it's not one person telling the rest of the world what to do. So I think this really gave all of us so much motivation and passion for this topic that it's so much fun working in this highly motivated team, I must say.
Yeah, and you use really each other's strengths, right? So it's a very test and learn environment.
Yeah.
So if something works in Spain, and Spain has developed it, and they're welcome to add that into the service model, or the service catalog, as almost we can say, of all these really nice, engaging elements. And then another country can pick that up and spread it, and then it's really a learn and iterative process. And I think that's what's so interesting, that you start with these small little, niblets of services, of interactions, of engagement, of services to the customer, of sometimes games. I mean, it could be anything, raffles, and then whatever works in one market, test it in the next, and then you start leveraging.
Exactly. And we also see that what works in one market doesn't necessarily have to work in another, but we try, and then we say, okay, it didn't work. And I think this was also one of the positive aspects, that we just started doing things and trying out. And there was not really we didn't start with a big strategy and with a big vision. Of course, we have a digital strategy, overarching strategy, and we have focus topics. But within this frame, we just started like little niblets, and it all, like a puzzle, it just got together after a while. And seeing this, it makes me really, really proud with the team together to see where we came from, where we are now, and where we're heading. And the steps we're taking, they're becoming bigger and bigger, obviously, because the standard level is increasing by not each month, but each quarter.
I think, I don't know if the audience really appreciates that at your corporate level, that kind of level of agility, to be able to, and not be afraid to plan everything ahead, and that's the beauty. I mean, the strategies before used to be written out, I don't know if anybody remembers writing out plans, a 3-year plan, 5-year plans. This is that agile of let's test and learn and reproduce what we do well. And adding that agility concept into a corporate environment and creating such teams, really, that's what, kickstarts the process.
Yeah, I think, of course, we have some great digital leaders, and also our board is also very focused on digital, and everyone is eager to learn. And of course, we want to improve all the time. And I think this is also why we are right now at this very exciting time, where we have the freedom of trying out, doing mistakes, then just moving on, and not really over analyzing what happened. And I mean, it's always, of course, depending on the invest behind it, but on the level where we are moving on right now, it's this agility what really gives us the speed and the great results that we drive with that.
Okay, great. Yeah. And I know you mentioned the skin guide, right? Because I mean, and that's a great tool that you guys build, and it's creating that, leveraging that information, and actually helping consumers out there, women especially, understanding, okay, what's happening with me? What are some of the other tactics that you hope to launch or to introduce into the market in the coming year? Well, what would you like? Let's put it this way. What would you like to do?
You cannot tell everything, of course.
No.
But I think, like all other brands, I think we are not inventing digital marketing or anything. I think everybody, especially beauty brands and FMCG beauty brands, we're all trying to become more relevant to the consumer. I mean, the consumer can go out there, and there's a choice of so many brands. You have niche brands, you have very unique brands, you have brands with maybe a different story, maybe for some more interesting story. There's a lot of choice. So for us, it's really important to kind of stick to our roots. So being the skin companion, making people feel good in their skin and beyond. So this is really the root where we come from. And then combining it with simplicity, and really in a simple way, being able to give the right benefits at the right time, the right information. So really getting into this more or less personalized conversation that is meaningful to the consumer. This is the way we will move forward. And I think we're already on this path. So we just need to tackle more and more of it. So more and more into automation of conversations, and really focus maybe even more on the interest of the consumer.
Great. Okay. Excellent. And I mean, we discussed some challenges. You told us a little glimpse of what maybe the things you want to bring up, and that's fine. I mean, obviously, we're not going to share everything, what everybody's working on right now. But what is the vision? Where are we going to? What's going to happen at some point? I mean, we're going to start building these relationships with the customer. What do you see in the future further? Like, what's going to happen? What would you like to happen?
It's a tough question.
I'm here for the tough questions.
I think the overall goal is really what I said, like having this meaningful conversations with the consumer. So we don't want to send out communication just because a new product is launched, because maybe it's not relevant to everyone. And maybe you just had a recommendation for another product. So it's maybe confusing then having, okay, which product should I use now? Like this one that was recommended or this new launch. So really to get like a structured way of communicating with the consumer and being more interest-based, because right now it's like we are on this way to this one-on-one communication, and I think we can still leverage this more. I mean, we are working on the data strategy. We are trying to build up on that all the time. Like it's not that you define it once and then you can stick to this forever. Like you have to redefine it over and over and over. So I think now we are focusing on a few attributes that for us are important strategically to get the information and to really build the communication on that. And to really, if you have a problem, we can be there and have the answer for you if it's related to beauty, of course.
Yes, all the other problems you're not going to fix. No text that can do that. No data can fix that. Okay, get it. Yeah. Because, I mean, and when we were talking a lot about this, I mean, Nivea alone, I mean, we were talking about one of the product sets, right? The Q-Teen, for the Nivea lovers, we can discuss that a little bit. But I mean, only already in that product range, there's so many functions for so many skin types, for this age, that age, for this. So you really want to be that partner to help make that decision. And can you be that granular? Can you be in that approach? Can you really pinpoint why somebody should use cream A to cream B? Is that how far we can go with this?
Well, it depends if you need to, right? I mean, you can, of course you can. We have the data and we can try to go as nitty-gritty as we want, but I think it's more important to find like a common ground where you start from, because if you go too much into detail, then you can get lost easily. And then, where do you start and where do you end? And if you kind of, maybe put together a few information that you need, and it's then maybe the age gap or the age group that you fall into. And then from there, you can just, based on the interest, find out, okay, is this person more like a morning routine, night routine, like what routine is more closer to its heart, and then you start from there, and then you just also educate the consumer in the end, what they need, what would be beneficial for them. It's more like this educational path together, and not really just sending out the marketing message of, okay, this can do this for you, but really, okay, you're at this age right now and under these circumstances, and it's the summertime, we would really recommend to maybe try this out.
A lot more relevance, specificity.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's maybe time to make this a little bit more interactive. Okay. So unless you want to share some other stuff, but I think maybe during the conversation with our audience, it would be really interesting to see if they have questions for you. So I'm going to open up the Q&A, if everybody's okay with that. Audiences in the room, I see there's already some, and I also have a magic tablet right there. So for everybody out there, if you have some questions, maybe also sharing some of your experiences that we can discuss in this room, because there's quite a few very interesting people with me. You guys can't see them, but I can. So we can also open up some topics that you might want to maybe share with this team and see if we have some answers for you. I know there was a question in the room, so before all the questions come starting in the Q&A, maybe we can take the question in the room. If we have the mic.
Sure, hello, thank you. My name is Thomas, I'm from Salesforce, and I have a question. You mentioned that you made a transition from a very localized setup to moving to a more globalized setup in combination with local markets. If a new company would try to do that, what recommendations would you give them?
Good question. I've been involved in this process since about a year, and I think for us the most important thing is to really listen to the needs from the markets, because they are the closest to the consumer in their country. So really listen to what they need and the demands, and then see what are the synergies, and then bundle them, and then from there, like trying to, move up like this pyramid kind of thing, but to really start from the bottom and see the common ground, and cluster the topics together and try to find synergies and efficiencies, of course, and then really to also present to everyone then the benefits for the markets, maybe to the global colleagues, because if you decide to go into a process or a structure like this, what is in for everyone? I think this is the most important thing, to make every stakeholder feel important and included into this process.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, great. Any more questions? I have some questions here from any more questions in the room before I move on to I think I have a question here for you. A few years ago, 2018, Navia was seen as the digital genius of the FMCG industry. Do you still see yourself as this now? And how do you keep the status alive?
Good question. Yeah, so a shout out to the German team. They are the digital genius, so well done, guys. And I think this is it. Like what I said before, we always try to be on the top of the current trends. So that's why we develop technologies like the Skin Guide, because we see more personalized skincare recommendations are something that the consumer wants, and we moved from our old tech stack to the new tech stack. So I think there's always new ways to improve, and we have a lot of bright minds within the company that are on top of their game, and I think all of this combined together really helps to stay as digital geniuses as we are. And Germany got the award, the recognition for that, and it would be great to also get it for further markets to follow. But it just really shows the strong interest that we have from everywhere, from the markets, from the board, from our leaders. So everybody really is passionate about this topic, and this is what gives us the possibility to focus and really do stuff that gives recognition like this.
Yeah, and by centralizing a little bit the activities, you actually have the opportunity to spread that knowledge, to spread that savviness and innovation from Germany and actually bring it into the other markets, and just upping up a little bit the game for everybody and creating a new benchmark a little bit higher. Very interesting. Any other questions that in the room? More stuff? I have here another question for you. Do you see any specific channels and devices that Nivea fans use most, and why do you think that is?
I think it's, you cannot say that there's one channel. I think it's like with every brand. So we're being searched a lot, and a lot of info nowadays is happening on Instagram and maybe also on Facebook in some cases. And Facebook is still bigger for media. And so we're just present where we know that the consumers are. And for us, it's important to have the right messages for the right channel. So we're trying to be as snackable as possible. So for Instagram, like tonight, actually, who wants to join? The German team is having the first live shopping event tonight. So this is going to be very exciting. So trying new things like this is also something, you know, what we love to do. And just trying to be there where the consumer is looking for us.
Oh, that's great. And actually, I don't know how many of our listeners know, you opened up, about 2 weeks ago, a flagship store in Hamburg. So actually also, on the retail. So Nivea is really exploring all channels, not only even digital, but also really exploring all channels. So that helps some of the people out there. Are there any more questions from, oh yes, hello John.
Do you plan to advertise on Snapchat and TikTok? Because that's very visual. visually?
Yeah, well, we do this in some markets, and of course, we always have to check, the advertising efficiency for these channels. But we do already, and if we see that there's more of our target group interacting with us as a brand, of course, maybe there are more to come. But for now, we do already. We have some markets that are quite big, actually. So Snapchat is really a thing that they explore already. And some just stick to the more classical, older channels.
No more questions? And online also not. So, oh, we do have another
Great,
question.
the audience is on fire.
Hi, I'm Donya, also Salesforce. I was just wondering, you kept saying that you really want to make the communication with the customers as relevant as possible.
Yeah.
So to what extent do you actually incorporate the voice of the customer, like the feedback of customers themselves, into the decision-making process, for example?
Good question. So what we of course do is when we get feedback from, like direct feedback from the consumers, we of course check this and react to this. But then also what we do is we see the engagement of the consumer. So maybe it's not a direct feedback that they tell us, oh, we like the color of your newsletter, but we see the interaction and the relevance. So really the consumer engagement and interaction is for us the KPI to measure the feedback, because if you don't like it, then you just don't engage with the brand.
Okay, great. So any more questions? No hard topics? Okay. Well, Paola, thank you so much for joining us here. It was
Thanks for
really
having
great
me.
having you. It's great working with you, so we'll keep that going. And for the audiences, especially digitally, join us tomorrow at 4 o'clock for Live in Sweden. We have Gant, also on the topic of 360, and just enjoy and have a great afternoon. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.